I mean, I was told by my film professor, there are films and there are movies, and sometimes you've got to know what you're walking into.
Yeah. See, but I come from a time when movies were films.
Determined to ensure Superman's ultimate sacrifice was not in vain, Bruce Wayne aligns forces with Diana Prince with plans to recruit a team of metahumans to protect the world from an approaching threat of catastrophic proportions. This is Zack Snyder's Justice League. The director's cut of the 2017 film. This movie came out in 2021, and this is also technically the series finale to our Superman series. We've been going through every single Superman movie, every single one, from the Christopher Reeve stuff all the way to this one here today. Technically, Justice League isn't a Superman movie. You know, it's like kind of like if we were going through all the Captain America movies and, you know, I decided to talk about Avengers. Like, you know, Avengers isn't a Captain America movie, but Captain America is in those films, and he does have some important characterization in there. Same with this one, you know. This is also one of the last DC movies that Henry Cavill Superman starred in. You know, he was also in Black Adam. You may be saying, Logan, we need to talk about Black Adam too. I don't get paid enough. We're not talking about Black Adam. He's only in Black Adam for like a minute and a half, if even that. That's being generous. It's a very small on-screen cameo. And, you know, he was back at one point as Superman. Back when that film came out in 2022, he was back as Superman. And then that just was done with in like a few weeks later. It was very sad, but this is technically the last time Henry Cavill was on screen as Superman and suited up. And I'm not talking about Black Adam. We're just going to discard that. We're going to discard also the 2017 Justice League, and we're going to go right into the Snyder Cut. That's the better version anyway. So that's really it. Really only 3 movies here, if we're not counting Black Adam. Also, Shazam. There was a Superman cameo in the end of Shazam. That was a stand-in. That was not Henry Cavill. We're not talking about Shazam either. This whole DC universe, in retrospect, was a catastrophic fail. So, you know, we're just going to be moving on here. But like I said, for context, one, my name's Logan. Welcome back to the Court of Cinema podcast. We talk about everything film and TV. And like I said previously before, we're going through every single Superman movie. James Gunn's Superman film drops very, very soon. I'm extremely excited for it. And, you know, the context also around this movie, if you're unemployed or you have a life and a job, then, you know, the whole context here. In 2017, we had the Justice League film, which was released and got a lot of bad reception, and that one was directed by Zack Snyder, but it was a failed movie because he stepped down in the middle of the production, and then Joss Whedon, who directed the Avengers movies, he came on board to finish up the Justice League film, which, you know, he had some big shoes to fill. It's definitely a lot to come into a movie as it's being shot, rewrite some stuff, shoot some new stuff in there, and he did that with that movie. I gotta give him some respect. I'll give some props to what I liked about this movie a little bit later, but still, 2017 Justice League was still a massive disappointment. No one liked it. At least most people didn't really like it at all, and it got very bad reception. You know, the whole CGI mustache thing wasn't very good. Fans were obviously upset. This was not Snyder's movie. It was hijacked by Warner Brothers and Joss Whedon, and he was done incredibly dirty because of that. So, you know, it's very sad to see this film happen. Obviously, after that, everyone was raging and rampaging them to release the Snyder Cut. This film came out in 2017. If you told me back in like 2018, hey Logan, in the year 2025, we're going to be reviewing Snyder's Justice League, a Snyder Cut, and you're going to be doing a podcast as well for the Snyder Cut, I would think you're crazy. You know, the Snyder Cut at one point was more of a myth than an actual movie. I didn't think a Snyder Cut even existed at that point in like 2017, 2018. I was hopeful, but still, I just didn't believe that they would release the Snyder Cut to the world. That's really never happened before in any point in cinematic history. I mean, maybe here and there, you know, we had the Superman 2. There was the Donner cut of that movie that came out in 2000s, but still not on this scale. The Snyder Cut was a huge, massive trend. Everyone was raging for the Snyder Cut. And then finally, in 2021, we got this movie, and it is just so glorious. It's such a miracle that it even happened. And look, we can talk about the entire timeline of from the point of Snyder being hired to the Snyder Cut stuff to it actually even being released, that is an entire podcast of itself that we can go into. But that's not what we're here for today. It's a very sad story. I mean, Zack Snyder, his daughter committed suicide. He had to step down from the movie back in 2017, and then it got hijacked really badly. The fans really wanted the Snyder Cut, and after years of us crying and begging to Warner Brothers to do it, they finally did it, and it's here today. Came out in 2021. This film didn't really get a theatrical release, so it doesn't really have any stats in terms of box office wise, but still, it was popular when it came out on HBO Max back in 2021. My first experience obviously was 2017. I saw the 2017 Justice League in theaters. I did not like it at all. I was very disappointed by it. I hated it a lot, and I still do today. I watched it last week on Friday, and I still hate this movie. I wanted to really love the 2017 version. I wanted to maybe come back around to it. Maybe I was too harsh on it in the previous years, but I realized that I maybe wasn't harsh enough. That movie is awful. It shows just how important cuts of films can be. I'm going to go into the Whedon cut a little bit later, but still moving on. In 2021, when the Snyder Cut came out, it came out, like I said, on HBO Max. I watched it in my bedroom because it was still 2021. COVID was still a thing, and it was still a concern. It still is today to a degree, but still, back in 2021, COVID was still a concern. So this movie never got a wide theatrical release. There may have been some small, little, minimal releases, but there was never anything wide to where I can go out to my local AMC and watch the movie. Unfortunately, I would have, but I couldn't. Going into Rotten Tomatoes, this film scored very beautifully with a 71% critic score and a 92% audience score. People really did love this movie. Then going back to the 2017 version, like I said, it's not looking very good for me. Really, no one liked it that much. Looking at the Rotten Tomatoes for the 2017 version, it has a 39% for the critic score and a 67% for the audience score. So clearly, people weren't really a fan of it. I know for a fact that I was not at all a fan of that movie. Going into some reviews here, I have one here from the Roger Ebert website. Obviously, Roger Ebert passed away before the film came out, but still, I have a review here from Matt Zoller-Seist, and he gave this film a 3.5 out of 4 stars. I'll make sure I leave the full review down there link below. In a small portion of his review, he says, Zack Snyder's Justice League is so fragmented that it could have been titled 32 Short Films About the Justice League. It often makes monumental promises or sets up seemingly important relationships, which it then forgets. It's so bombastic that it makes Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice seem modest. It will plainly please the people who clamored for it. Even fans of the genre might consider it to be a bit much. It owes as much to rock concerts, video games, and multimedia installations as it does to commercial narrative filmmaking. It's maddening, it's monumental, it's art. That's really what I took away from this entire little section of the review, is that this film really is art. It's just such a beautiful piece of art. I remember seeing about Zack Snyder talking about how he storyboarded a lot of the frames of this film, and you can feel that. The IMAX ratio also helps that out. It's like a little, it's that boxy square format, which I really, really do love. But it's so beautiful to watch this movie. The framing, the cinematography, the blocking, the story, the characters, the narrative, it's all so beautiful. Such a incredible piece of art. I love every second of it. I'm not trying to be a Snyder glazer, a big toxic Snyder fan. I really do. As someone who loves movies and superhero films, I love this film. This is one of the best comic book films ever made of all time. Then over on Letterboxd, we do have a 3.4 out of 5 average. Then we have one review here from Teal, who gave this film a 5 out of 5. And then in their review, it's one little sentence here. They said, just try and convince me that this film isn't amazing. And to me, I feel the same way. Try and convince you this film isn't amazing. You may be saying to me, Logan, this and the 2017 version are the same movie. They're not different in any kind of way. Well, to that I say, that's not how movies work. That's not how cuts of films work. Snyder did shoot majority of this film, and after watching this movie on Friday, then again yesterday on Monday, I can definitely see that the movie has a lot of similar shots because, Snyder shot a lot of this movie, and then Whedon came in with a little bit of editing and color grading and clearly messing up someone's meal as they made it. It's clearly going to be a completely different thing when the first chef who made the meal decides to come in and fix it up a little bit more. So, clearly to me, I feel like if you're someone who loves art and movies, you have to at least appreciate this movie, at least appreciate what it did, and at least be able to say this is a solid movie at the very, very least. If not, you're just hate watching, which I really don't support in any kind of capacity unless it's something from, I don't know, maybe like Madam Web you can hate watch, but besides that, I'm not a big fan of hate watching. So with all of the prologue yap out of the way, let's go ahead and start diving into the Snyder Cut. I'm going to try to keep this episode today fairly short and sweet. The episodes have been running over an hour long, which I am sorry for. I'm incredibly passionate about these Snyder films and always will be. But, still, like I said, we're going to go and start diving into this movie. It's split into a lot of parts, so we're going to go ahead and go through each part of the Snyder Cut. Then after that, we're going to just do a little intermission too in the middle. Then superlatives and awards. Then after that, we'll be just, heading out for the day and giving our final send-off to Henry Cavill. So my phone is at 20%, and I have all my notes on here, so we're going to see how this goes. But, start diving into it here today. So, number one, like I said, I did watch the Whedon cut, the Justice League, for the Joss Whedon cut of the movie. I watched that on Friday, so I do have some thoughts on that movie. It's just, things that I noticed that make it really bad. Just off rip, I tried to watch it again and maybe love it a little bit. But, what I noticed was, number one, was the mustache CGI. The mustache CGI, not a fan of it. I think the biggest thing for me was the pacing being just way too quick. It feels like it just condensed so much of what this film was supposed to be. And obviously, if you compare a 2-hour movie, then you compare a 4-hour movie, obviously, one of those films is going to feel rushed. I mean, obviously the 2-hour film will feel rushed and like it's going way too quick than the 4-hour cut of the movie. That's just, common sense. But still, the 2017 version feels rushed. It feels like there's no time to breathe. I feel like I don't have a lot of time with the characters, and it lacks a lot of what it really should be. I can talk about it all day for flaws-wise, but, the thing for me, I do have some things that make it actually good, that I do feel are kind of vacant in the Snyder Cut. A couple things. Well, number one for me is that it has more fun in the Joss Whedon cut. I mean, obviously, he's coming from the Avengers movies. He's going to bring in some comedic stuff into this movie. That's, obvious. But, for me, I do enjoy Superman making jokes and being hopeful and just, making jokes and being a cheerful guy. We haven't seen it a lot with Henry Cavill. We obviously know that Zack Snyder wanted this to be a multi-movie arc for a lot of these characters. And, Superman was one of the main ones who would have been, as we were led to believe, on like a 5-movie arc to become more hopeful down the line. And you can feel that here a little bit. But, in the Joss Whedon cut, I do like there is more of banter and more fun with the movie overall. I do miss that, fun tone to these movies also. I understand this movie is very dark and naturally a very dark film, but still, I would have liked to have some more fun here and there. And Joss Whedon did that pretty cool. Also, the score for the Joss Whedon cut is different from this movie. And in the Joss Whedon cut, they have more of like the OG themes for Superman and Batman mixed into the score, which I think are cool. You can hear some of the Christopher Reeve music in the Superman theme for the 2017 version. I like that. I like hearing the like OG Batman theme for this movie, hearing that in 2017 version. I do like that as well. There's some highlights and some good for that 2017 version. Also, the opening for the 2017 version, having the Sigrid cover of Everybody Knows, is super cool. I like some of the things that movie does. It's cool. Besides that, it's not good at all. But I do have some highlights, some fun I had here and there. So with that out of the way, like I said, majority of that 2017 version sucks. Now it's time to go into our Snyder Cut. And this movie, off rip, in the opening of the movie, like I said, 2017 opening is cool. But compared to this opening, it's not even close. This opening is a 10 out of 10 perfect opening. You may be saying, oh, here he goes. He's glazing. He's being a Snyder diehard fanboy. I've critique Snyder, and I will later in this episode for make some dumb decisions, but still, the opening here is a 10 out of 10. I do love the fact that in the opening, we saw in Batman vs. Superman, but Superman's scream when he dies alerts the entire planet. The way his vocals are just going across the entire Earth, across every single kingdom, is insane. It's super duper cool. I like that. Also, they're going to talk about later, but I like that in Superman's death, the mother boxes sense that Superman's power had vanished off of Earth, that the threat of Superman is dead, and that's what awoken them. That is crazy to see. That just adds so much more to the world building, to everything. Hearing every single kingdom, the Amazonians, the Atlanteans, all of them, all species of Earth, everyone hearing Superman's scream as he cried out for his last breath is insane. That is super cool. An opening that I didn't think I needed, but the fact that in Superman's death, that is when everything starts to roll with the mother boxes, because they know that in Superman's death, the Earth has no major defender like him, so now they can finally be awoken. That's insane, crazy lore and world building. I love that a whole ton. I think that off rip in the first 5 minutes, that immediately makes it infinitely better than the 2017 version. I mean, off rip in that very opening, it's crazy. Also, a very fast, a blanket compliment. The IMAX ratio is beautiful for this movie. The IMAX and the quality is insane. I watched this on my 4K disc for the movie, on my 4K player, on my 4K TV. So therefore, it's going to be looking really good, but still, the IMAX quality, that boxy IMAX format, looks insane throughout the entire movie. Every single shot is a work of art. It's so crisp. It's so beautiful. I love it all. It's just insane to me. Then also for the score, we don't have Hans Zimmer here, but still, Junkie XL cooked immensely here with the score. It's awesome. I love the Justice League theme. I love all the triumphant moments. The score is right there, just back it up. It's insane. That's also very, very cool. But still, moving on, we have a lot to talk about here today. I do love that a lot of this movie is them trying to recruit the Defenders and them forming this Justice League. It would have been really cool to see how they're able to grow as time went on. We know, obviously, Martian Manhunter was here too, and also Green Lantern was going to come eventually. But, it's still really cool. I love seeing Batman recruiting Aquaman in such a super cool and snarky and grizzled Bruce Wayne way, offering him 20 grand, being able to speak the Iceland language, which is such a Batman thing to do. It really makes me love this character so much more. This is also the first scene that you can compare the 2017 version to the 2021 Snyder version, and you're able to easily just compare and contrast and just see just how much better of filmmaking the 2021 version is to the 2017 version. Not even close. I mean, there's lines of dialogue, the way it's cut, the way they're able to hold the mood and the vibe and tension is held in this new version so much better that it makes the 2017 version look like garbage. There's still a lot of the same lines of dialogue are here, but the way it's cut and edited and the way it holds moments, a lot of this movie makes it feel so much better. Another scene you can compare and contrast, the Wonder Woman fight scene, is relatively the same, a little bit better in its execution. And also another blanket comment for the rest of this movie is that the Wonder Woman vocals are so annoying yet so funny. It's not even, I think, supposed to be a joke. Literally, on every single frame of Wonder Woman, they play those Amazonian vocals every single time. If she's grabbing a cup of water, they're playing the Amazonian vocals for no reason. It was a very funny meme when the movie first came out, and even to this day, it's so comedic and so outlandish that it's just so awesome at the end of the day. It really is, I guess, the only piece of comedy that we'll see. One of the only pieces, but I'm here to welcome it. Another thing I'm here to welcome is the Steppenwolf CGI and the Amazonian fight sequence. It is perfect. I mean, the Steppenwolf CGI looks so much better than the 2017 version. Not even close. I mean, I rewatched the 2017 one, like I said, on Friday last week, and the CGI for that version of Steppenwolf doesn't even look, I would say, bad. The quality of the CGI isn't bad. You can say the design of the character looks off and looks weird and looks kind of rushed, but the CGI isn't awful. You know, the CGI and design for this version looks so good that the old one looks horrendous at this point. I mean, really, it's night and day. You can't even debate it at all. I mean, this version of Steppenwolf is just so much more of this figure and force, and just I love the way his armor is always moving and transforming with his emotions as well. It looks so much more alien-like than just that very boring, just basic armor plating. It's not even close at the end of the day. Then also the Amazonian fight sequence really speaks for itself. It's brutal, it's dark, it's bloody, it's gritty, it's so much of that Snyder slow-mo. It's incredible. I mean, really, whatever you want to say, Zack Snyder knew how to direct action sequences, and most likely no one else in the comic book movie space will be able to direct action sequences like Zack Snyder. Not to say they can't be good, but still, to do like Snyder, you can never in your life even dream of doing that. And once again, just comparing the old 2017 version to this one, it's not even close. It's just so much infinitely better. You know, I feel like a lot of these sequences in this, fight sequence that happen in these movies, they're relatively the same, but the way this movie does it is just so much better. The way it builds the conflict, the way it executes the conflict feels just so much more different. So part 1 of this movie is called Don't Count on It, Batman, and now part 2, The Age of Heroes, which might be my second favorite part in this movie, just because the Steppenwolf goon, the parademons, I'm sorry, we're not saying goon around here. The Steppenwolf parademon attacking the lab, it is insane. It's such a dark sequence. It's actually not even in the 2017 version, it's only in this one. The way the camera focuses on close-ups of the parademon, the way it pans and cuts, it's so scary. It adds a genuine sense of horror. The lighting, the smoke, the red lighting, it's so good. I mean, I really have to give some praise to the directing from Snyder and the rest of his team here. It's not even close. And also, Ryan Choi is in this movie, and that's aka the Atom. We would have seen more of him in the future, Justice League and DC movies if Snyder was still on board. In a perfect world, we would have gotten more of this and more of him. But still, he's cool. I like seeing him here. Maybe in the future, he'll come back as Adam. I wouldn't be mad at it, but I feel like no one would really notice or really care. But still, I'll be happy about it. I'm going to be recasting a lot of this Justice League a little bit later in the episode for intermission, so stay tuned for that. But still, we got more to talk about. Wonder Woman doing Tomb Raider stuff, I think is cool. I really do love this sequence. It's one of my favorites in the entire movie. Out of a 4-hour movie, this is always the point of the film that will always leave me just so shocked and so jaw-dropped by the awesomeness of this sequence. I really, really love it. Another sequence, again, that I can say, if you compare and contrast, if you're in film school, comparing these two scenes from the two different directors, the way they're just edited just really adds so much more. Aquaman saving the sailor in the 2017 version to here, it's relatively the same, but it just adds a little bit more in terms of the music. The needle drops are so cool in this one. I like it a lot more here with the needle drops. The way it's cut and edited feels a lot better. Just, as we look back and forth here with this movie, I do like that a lot. Now, also what I just really forgot is just how good Willem Dafoe is in this movie and in the other Aquaman film also. Willem Dafoe, doesn't matter where he goes, he's always good, but still, just he's here for a quick moment to give Aquaman his mom's trident and, the suit, I guess he gives him. So I do like seeing Willem Dafoe here. He's always a treat to have in any kind of movie. But maybe what I love more than Willem Dafoe is Darkseid in this movie. And just seeing Darkseid here, it's so menacing. I just love the way they set him up with this movie. It's very clear they wanted to go down into further movies with this stuff. So I hate seeing the way they market and title everything this is Snyder's trilogy. You really can't say it's a trilogy because it was never supposed to be a trilogy. There was clearly supposed to be more than 3 films that he directed, but they, just cut him short. It's really sad, but, it's just the reality at this point. But seeing Darkseid on the cave walls like he was this god to be feared is incredible. I mean, that is just so cool. I really love that. I love him and Desaad and the relationship with Steppenwolf. It's so cool. The Age of Heroes battle, happen in the 2017 version, but in the 2017 version, they had Steppenwolf instead of Darkseid for some reason. Like, why would you cut out Darkseid out of your movie? What were you even thinking? You know, I understand Zack Snyder stepped down, had a family emergency, a very bad family traumatic moment, but why would you cut out Darkseid? I mean, for the fans' sake, try to keep this film as close as you can get to it being the, Snyder vision. And the Age of Heroes battle, once again, speaks for itself. I mean, in the 2017 version, we barely get a sniff of what that battle was. In this movie, we get the full uncut raw version, and it is spectacular and glorious. And I love the action, the fighting, seeing how Darkseid came to Earth once before and got packed up by everyone on Earth. It's just so glorious to see that. That is an incredible action sequence. I love it a ton. I mean, really, Darkseid, I hope he comes back around in the DC universe. I'm not sure when we're going to be getting any kind of team-up film with anyone in this universe. I mean, we're getting the Launch Point movie is coming out next week. We have a very long way to go before anything gets made after this. But still, I have high hopes. I'm hoping that we get a very cool Justice League movie eventually. And Superman versus Darkseid will be insane to see one day. So part 2 of this film out of the way, it's time for part 3, Beloved Mother, Beloved Son. This is really one of the more important chapters here of this movie. And we get introduced to Barry Allen. I will always love Barry Allen's origin, and that Flash movie was a lot, and I don't want to talk about it right now, but still, I do still love Barry Allen, and also Ezra Miller was such a good casting here. Unfortunately, he wanted to play a superhero villain in real life, and he really fumbled the bag for everyone of ever getting any other kind of Flash movie for a very long time. But still, I love Barry Allen, him and his father, and trying to save his father. I mean, that's really what makes the Flash film so good. I really do believe The Flash was an overhated movie to a degree. Actually, a very early announcement. Next year, as we go into the Supergirl movie, I'll be talking about The Flash because, Supergirl is in that movie. So, fair to say we talk about him a little bit. But still, I still love Barry Allen. Snyder casted Ezra Miller, obviously not knowing what he was going to do later down the line. But, I still love Barry Allen here in this movie. He's a bit of the comic relief, we can say. He's like the Spider-Man of this movie, and it's always fun to see him on screen. But the character and moment that really just made me love this film so much more than I always do is Cyborg. And I've seen this film a couple times now, at least a few times I've seen it now, and I love Cyborg so much because every time I watch it, I always know Cyborg is the heart of this movie. But every time I always forget just how good Cyborg is in this movie. Really, Ray Fisher was robbed of being a really long-term superhero. I mean, he was just so good in this movie. I remember seeing obviously, number one, is that a lot of what happened in the 2017 Joss Whedon cut, for some reason they cut down on like all of his characterization. And then I also heard about him being treated very badly on set. He was extremely vocal about the bad conditions of the Joss Whedon takeover of that 2017 movie, that I'm just so sad for him. He is just so good in this movie, from the acting, the character. I love so much. I am so eager to see what they do in a potential future Teen Titans movie. I absolutely love Cyborg in this film and always will. I never thought in a movie with The Flash and Superman and Batman, those are 3 of my really favorite DC heroes. I never thought that Cyborg would be the highlight of this movie. I mean, I always watch it and I always say he's like the best always in this movie. But every single time I just get so shocked by just how good he is in this movie. Really, every time I can never get enough of him in here. So part 3 out of the way, introducing Cyborg in a pretty short chapter here. Now, part 4 here with this movie is called Change Machine. This is our first team up of the Justice League in this film, which I really do enjoy. We have everyone recruited now. Wonder Woman, she recruited Cyborg, and now we have The Flash recruited by Batman. The Flash also being thrown a batarang at him by Batman. Did he know he was fast? I hope so, because, imagine another universe where Batman throws the batarang, he kills him. What then? What was his plan then? questionable, but he's Bruce Wayne. Maybe he knew because of the billions of dollars in research he could have done on him to dig up all the information. Who knows? We'll see. But still, part 4, Change the Machine. It's beautiful. The first Justice League team up is glorious. I love seeing them all work together. It's a really whole lot of fun. This is another case here with this movie to where a lot of this film, it and the 2017 version, they have the same shots. If I compare and contrast this first team-up sequence in the Gotham Harbor underground tunnel thing, it's relatively the same shots. It's not really changing a whole lot. Once again, that's not how films work. It's not like one cut of a movie versus another cut is a completely different movie. It's not like if I have a cut of Man of Steel, the next cut of the movie is going to be the James Gunn Superman. That's not how cuts of films work, But still, like I said, this version, it's adding more tension, adding more pace, adding more drama and conflict to where it makes everything matter more. At this point in the movie, it's already getting to the point of at least, if not halfway, it's, at least like halfway through the first movie of what that is. It's a very long runtime here with this movie, and rightfully so. It's a lot to go through. Also, this movie really setting up more of the future of the DC universe. I mean, like in the 2017 version, we really didn't get any kind of setup for a Justice League 2. It's like how in Avengers 1, they had a fun, it's still a good movie on its own, but in Avengers 1, they still set up Thanos, and I understand Thanos came 10 years later, but still, they went out of their way to go on about setting up world building, setting up new characters and spin-offs and sequels and stuff, and, a whole shebang, whatever. Iron Man goes into the wormhole, that obviously carries over into Iron Man 3, etc., etc. You get the point. With this movie, it sets up the anti-life equation, which is definitely something very heavy. If you're a nerd and you know about Darkseid, that's heavy in that realm. That esque is there. And about the anti-life equation being on Earth, where is it? It's all here. It's all crazy to see. I really do enjoy about it going about its way to be ambitious and be bold at the end of the day. It also means so much more, at least for me, to watch it because it's adding a lot more to Steppenwolf in this movie. It's adding more that the old version didn't have, to where we're setting up characterization. We know that Steppenwolf was banished by Darkseid to go out and conquer, 10,000 worlds? And with this movie, it sets up the anti-life equation, and then Steppenwolf tells Darkseid, and Darkseid says that he doesn't say it, but still, if Steppenwolf pleases Darkseid to this degree, his sentence will be, kind of forgotten about. So it's not like I'm rooting for Steppenwolf, but it makes me care more. At least, I have a soft spot for the villain because it means a lot to him. So therefore it means a lot to me and to the rest of the world because, anti-life means, the whole shebang. It's a lot, but still the level of ambition and scale and scope with this movie and this franchise setting up a lot with this film, it really makes it a treat to go through. And also with our team all recruited now, we have our team all set up, they're all recruited, they're sitting around the table, they're standing around the mother box, and in this part of the movie, in the 2017 version, they find out that there's a chance they can resurrect Superman. And in the Snyder cut, there's really, everyone's on board here. It's a very dumb idea. Obviously, there's some pushback a little bit. It's really dumb. It's really stupid. It can go terribly wrong. Activating the mother box can now make Steppenwolf and his goons see that they can track the mother box, they can come intercept it, and then, the world can end really quickly. But there's really no choice here. I feel like everyone is saying it's either resurrect Superman. He's our one X factor that we need on our team. He's the strongest person, in the universe. Let's relax, but sure. He's the strongest. Top 10 strongest people in the universe by far, bar none. And we need him on our team. That's an easy fact. So I love them knowing that this is our only option. And if it's an option, we have to take it. Doesn't matter the consequence, we have to do it. In the Whedon cut of this movie, he decided to take this point of the film and try and make it as a point to divide the team, add conflict with the team, and friction. At this point in the 2017 version, instead of Wonder Woman being all on board about it, we have Wonder Woman being heavily against it, that they don't know the power of the mother box. And I like it a little bit to add conflict and tension and add more characterization. But in this movie, it wastes no time in terms of telling the audience, this is it. This is our option. We have to do it. We are 6, not 5. There's no us without him. We need Superman. That's it. Cut and dry, to the point. That's it. That's the entire point. They understand that it's a high risk, but an incredibly high reward to where it's worth the risk at the end of the day. I mean, I really do love this scene. It's really a 10 out of 10 perfect scene in my eyes. I mean, the mother boxes, we know, like I said previously, they're afraid of Superman. That's how we already know that Superman can defeat Steppenwolf, because the mother boxes proved it. They were asleep for years, and it wasn't until Superman died that they decided to now wake up and alert Steppenwolf. You know, it shows so much, and it really, I think at this point in the movie, it's where Zack Snyder was like, okay, let me make a movie. Let me actually go out there and make a good film. This is like the point of the screenplay to where now it's locked in. It's like that one meme of the gamer to where he's like, sitting back in his chair, then he leans forward. That was what Zack Snyder did here in this movie at this very point. I mean, it's just truly incredible. I really, really do love that. I mean, knowing that the mother boxes are change machines, they can turn a house of smoke back to a house after a fire. It just really, it's all so incredibly executed. I can never get enough of this scene. This is, I think, maybe my favorite moment of the movie. I mean, there's a lot of good moments. It's maybe not favorite. It's a top 5, top 10 moment for sure in this movie. Okay, so part 4 of this film is out of the way, and it's now time for an extremely quick and short intermission. I just need a very fast moment just to take a break for a second here, because at this point of the movie, it starts really ramping up, and it goes into the third act. So I have to just take a very quick mental break, and in this break, I'll just go ahead and, I guess, cast what I think should be the characters for the next Justice League, I guess, if that's a fair way to understand it. I'm just going to be recasting who's in this movie. For heroes, I'll just be recasting them. That's it. So for Batfleck, or for Ben Affleck, he was really good as Batman. I really do love Ben Affleck as Batman. He's a whole lot of fun here in this movie. It's going to be hard to say goodbye to him. Last week I said that maybe in the future we'll get Ben Affleck back in a, maybe a crisis movie. We have Ben Affleck come back as like an older Batman with like, gray hair and stuff, a hunchback. That could happen. I'm not against that at all. But, still, for the Batman, for the new DC universe, who should be in it? Who should be Batman? I feel like the only answer I have that I haven't seen, one, I'll say it here, Jensen Ackles is a great choice. He's definitely the fan favorite right now. He's a really good actor. He was Soldier Boy in The Boys. He was really good as that. And he has the look of the older Batman. They're clearly going for an older, more grizzled Batman like we have in, this, main Batman vs Superman universe. So still, Jensen Ackles, great choice. He's 47. He can do it. He can definitely be a solid Batman. He has, my approval for that casting. So Jensen Ackles, he's a good choice, but my personal choice that I think is a really good one, I've been watching him in more movies recently, is Josh Hartnett. Maybe saying, what, Logan, Josh Hartnett, are you serious? Yes, Josh Hartnett. I watched him in Trap last year with M. Night Shyamalan. I recently watched Black Hawk Down for the first time, but still, the Trap version of Jensen Ackles, watch Trap, look at his, his physique, his range as an actor. He's just really good. He's really solid. He was also in Oppenheimer. He was really good in that. Also Virgin Suicides. He had a small role in that film back in 1999, but still, Oppenheimer and Trap should be, I think, the only, real reason to cast him in as that role of Batman. I think he'll be good. I think he'll be really good. He's 6'3". He's 46, so he's definitely, has that older, more grizzled look to him he can have. I think he'll be great. I think he'll be really good as Bruce Wayne, a little bit of time in the gym, blah, blah, blah. He would be really good. I also binged The Bear in like less than a week. He's also in The Bear as well as a, smaller role in The Bear. And he's good in The Bear also. I mean, he's really a solid actor. He hasn't been in a lot of movies, honestly. I think recently he's just kind of starting to act in more stuff. Maybe he took a little bit of a break, who knows? But still, he's a solid actor. He can do a really good job as Batman. That's my personal choice. going into Wonder Woman, there's really only one choice that I have right now. She's the popular pick right now. It's Adria or Hona. She was in Andor. She's Wonder Woman. It should be her. She's a solid choice. That's who I would pick. I don't really have anyone else to go for Wonder Woman but her. Like I said, she's definitely the fan favorite right now. She's definitely the most popular. I think she would be solid for the role. I think she should definitely have it. She's definitely hers for the taking. And then for my next choice for Cyborg, it depends on what they want to go for these next ones. Because we know for Batman, they want someone older. For the rest of these guys, we're not too sure exactly what they're looking for. But for Cyborg, if there's any chance of us being able to get Ray Fisher back, that would be great. You know, most likely that really won't happen, unfortunately. But still, Ray Fisher was solid. I mean, I really do think he was an incredible choice for Cyborg. I really do love him there. You know, but still, I guess for what we should have as our, you know, Cyborg in the future, there's not a lot of options that I really had that I can think of off the top of my head. But I think for Cyborg, I would go with David Johnson. You know, he was recently in Alien Romulus. He was also, I guess more recently than that, he was in Rylane in 2023, 2024. He was an Alien. He hasn't been in a lot so far, but I think that just as an actor, he's awesome. He's really good. I really love him in those two films, Rylane and Alien. He's solid. Obviously in Alien, he plays a cyborg in that movie, so, you know, we get a little bit of that going for him. And also, he's only 5'9". I'm not sure how tall Cyborg should be, but, you know, with some CGI and stilts, I guess we can make it work. He's a good choice. He's a good actor in general. I want to see David Johnson in more movies. He's a phenomenal actor, and I think that he's going very far in acting, for sure. And then in terms of who I think should maybe play the Flash in the DC universe, they're definitely going to, I think, take a break from the Flash going into the future. But if I had to pick someone, Lucas Till has been a very popular fan cast in terms of the Flash, and he would be solid as well. I mean, he would be really good in the role. I don't know if he's really acting in as much anymore, but still, if they called him up and said, hey, do you want to be the Flash for $100 million? Yeah, sure, let's do it. Why not? I think he'll be good in the role. You know, I think he'll be solid. Like I said, he's been the very popular fan cast has been him for the Flash right now, and I don't object with it at all. I think he'll be really good in the role. I mean, also, the bar for being the Flash is kind of low. I mean, as long as you don't try to be a villain in real life like Ezra Miller did, you'll be fine. You'll be okay. You can definitely keep the job for a couple of decades. It'll be cool. You can definitely hang with it for a bit. But, you know, if you're a show guy and you're not doing weird stuff, you're solid. He was also, Lucas Till was in this not random, that's a bad thing to say. He was in this kind of like investigative show with this genius kid, you know, called like MacGyver. He was in that for a little bit, kind of similar to how the Flash is, you know, in forensics. So we can make it work here. Lucas Till, he'll be a solid Flash. I got some props for him. And for the very last casting here, it's going to be for Aquaman. You know, who should be Aquaman in the new universe? That's kind of a weird one to cast. It's going to be kind of sad to say goodbye to him as Aquaman, Jason Momoa. It's been, at this point, iconic for sure. I mean, you can say for Batman and Wonder Woman, not very iconic and definitely left a bad taste in the fans' mouth. But, you know, I think for Aquaman, he did a good job while he had the role, and it was pretty fun for a bit. But for me, who I think should play Aquaman in the future, it's kind of weird. There's some really good picks here, I think. But for me, I could maybe see Alexander Skarsgård, or if we really want to get fun here, Alan Ritson. He was in the most recent version of, what's that one show called? Reacher, he was in. And he could also be Batman too, so he can be anyone in the DC universe. As long as you're a white guy with blonde hair, you're solid, which is like a lot of Hollywood. So there's a big pool of guys to pick from here. But there's a lot of great guys to pick from for Aquaman, and I think that it's going to be pretty good regardless. I think most likely they're going to go with the more unknown actors for most of these roles. Kind of like how David Cornsweet, David Cornsweet obviously had a fan base. He was in movies before Superman, but he obviously wasn't as big as we know him now. Same with like Henry Cavill was in movies before Superman, Man of Steel, but Henry Cavill wasn't really known, I guess, like that before he stepped into the role of Superman. Same with the rest of these guys. It's going to be someone who we least expect for all these roles, but I think that's a pretty solid fan casting that I put out so far, and I'm happy to see whoever they roll with will be fun. So intermission was fun. I had fun casting all these guys, but still, back into the movie. We're in part 5 now, All the King's Horses, and we're seeing, I think, maybe my favorite chapter. Oh, no, it's not. One of my favorite chapters here of this movie has been part 5, All the King's Horses. I've been a huge fan here of this film so far. The Snyder Cut is spectacular. I really do enjoy it. But with part 5, we see Bruce Wayne. He's operating in this space of guilt over reason. He's operating in the promises he's made really over the Batman super analytical, logical reasoning behind everything. I mean, it is important that Batman keeps his promise. He said at Clark Kent's funeral, whatever, he said that he failed him in life, he won't fail him in death. That's what most of this film has been throughout this entire runtime. And, he built together the team, but still, their best chance at winning against Steppenwolf and Darkseid is the Man of Steel, is the God amongst men, is the last son of Krypton. That is the best bet they have at defeating this grand, massive invasion. So, I mean, it's understandable for him to do this, but still, the reasoning behind it, or at least the analytical side of it, is really none, which makes it even cooler and makes it even weird to see Batman operating in a space of like a last-minute plan. Kind of this last-minute, quick on his feet thing that he kind of thought of like last minute. It's super cool to see Batman operating in this kind of situation because now it's really serious. If Batman wanted to have everything planned out, he could, but in this case, he couldn't, which makes it even cooler to see him operate in this kind of space. But the Superman resurrection scene is just so glorious. I love a little small detail when they're going through the ship and they have Superman's casket, the ship knowing that Clark is there. That's such a cool little detail. I love Barry running like faster than the speed of light to slow down time to jumpstart the ship to revive Superman. That's also very, very cool. It's a flash forward scene of, that Cyborg sees inside the mother box of this very dark nightmare, doomsday, Mad Max kind of world that happens after Darkseid wins. Once again, it kind of feels out of place, just like with last week. I talked about how the Batfleck nightmare scene that he has the flash forward of, it would have made more sense if we got that other movie with those future movies. It would have made more sense. We have another one here a little bit later with, Darkseid and a doomsday kind of Mad Max thing. It would have made more sense if everything actually panned out. It's kind of like seeing the ingredients to an unfinished meal and you're like, what are these jelly beans, Skittles, rice, and milk doing here? Like, what is this all supposed to be? It's for an unfinished dish. That dish might be gross, but still, this wasn't done yet. It's very sad to see that I see his vision, but it's not done. I don't know what it's supposed to mean yet. And this movie also just keeps getting better on its own with the more cyborg that we get. And in the original cut of the movie, well, not the original, the first cut back in 2017, all the cyborg characterization was like cut out of the film for some reason. And then also in the 2017 cut of the movie, his father lived in that cut of the movie. And in any other movie, we see that him and his father, reunited, they're together and all that, blah, 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 which I think is just so weird to have such a monumental moment for the character and for the film be cut out of the movie. I mean, that moment with his father dying and Victor watching his father die is maybe my favorite part of the film, at least for the character, because I love that this character is the heart and soul and the center point in this very massive movie. I mean, I really do connect and love Cyborg so much. It makes me really want to go out to my local comic store and read more Cyborg comics, because I really do love the struggle and pain and hurt, yet the perseverance of the character of Cyborg in this film. It makes me adore the character to a point where I never really thought I would. I mean, I'm really not a Cyborg fan that much because of the way Teen Titans Go kind of butchered every character on that team has been kind of butchered at this point. But, Cyborg is still a solid character. I really also want to watch like Teen Titans, the OG show with the cool, like the Trouble in Tokyo stuff. Want to rewatch all of that now, but still, love Cyborg in this film. He's awesome. I didn't mention it previously, but the Justice League versus Superman fight was, fun and cool. I do love that. Also, Superman being the same speed as the Flash and then turning his head to him, that's super cool. I love that a lot. And also, didn't really mention it, I don't think, but in the 2017 cut of the movie, I do like that the Flash and Superman race in that movie. It's something that, it's in the Joss Whedon cut, and it really cuts out a lot of really important stuff, but I like the fun jokes and the fun humor that Joss Whedon brought in. I really do enjoy it, Maybe one day, again, we'll see Superman versus the Flash in live action. It's always a super fun race to see. I know they did it in the animated show as well, but still, if we're able to see that again someday, I'll be forever happy. All right, so we're almost done here, but with all that yep out of the way, it's time for the third act of this movie. It's third act time. There's no more running. There's no more anything. We're here. It's third act of part 6, Something Darker. That's what this is. And I love this so much. I love it so much. I love every minute of this third act. It speaks for itself. I know I say that a lot, but really, movies speak for itself. I can't really put into words my love for these films and for this one and this part of this movie specifically. Everything, all the previous 5 parts all culminating together into one final chapter, at least the final chapter for the epilogue. But the final chapter, third act, the final battle is here in part 6. And the first thing I love here is Flight 2.0. The second time Superman flies, and I really do love this. It's sad to see. It's really heartbreaking to see just how dirty Henry Cavill was done. He was a great Superman with maybe not the best script and not the best director and story in mind, but he was incredible. I love this moment of him walking through the Kryptonian ship, hearing the 2 voices of his Earth father, and also his father from space, Jor-El from Krypton, hearing those 2 halves of himself, and then being able to embrace what it means to be Superman by embracing the 2 parts of himself, embracing Clark Kent and embracing Kal-El, and merging them together to be Superman is everything. I feel like it's starting to get to a point where, as we know, Snyder said he had like a 5-movie arc. I feel like they're now maybe starting to get what it meant for the character and truly maybe starting to develop the character into what we know and love. And I love everything about this. The suit, the blacked out suit, which I never even talked about that with the Snyder cut, how we really wanted the black suit, and seeing the black suit on screen is everything. It makes me so emotional watching this scene, the Flight 2.0, because this is my Superman. I said it before, I'll say it again, I'll say it forever the rest of the time. Henry Cavill, Zack Snyder, Superman is my Superman. I understand it's not the most comic book accurate. He's not very hopeful and not very joyful and cheerful all the time. He makes mistakes. He's very dumb and he's destructive and he's angry and he's sad. And that's what makes me love him even more, that he's real and relatable, and all the emotions and struggle and frustration that he deals with is things that all of us deal with every single day. It's not the most comic book accurate. It's more of a realistic and grounded version of the character, which makes me love him even more. And I just love this character and everything here with this movie so much. I really, really do. It's incredible to see. It's incredible to watch. I can never get enough of this. And Flight 2.0 is one of my favorite scenes of this entire movie. And I think of the entire Superman mythos, it's everything for me. It's kind of like how, if you ever had, I guess, your first love, you had a girl that you met a very long time ago when you guys were together for maybe a couple months, and then you two eventually break up, and you're always going to remember that one girl, and you're going to have to eventually move on and embrace the new David Cornsweet Superman girlfriend, but you're always going to remember the Henry Cavill Superman girlfriend that you had previously in the past. It's so sad to see, but there's going to be a piece of Henry Cavill Superman in me always, no homo. There's going to be a piece of him and me always, and a piece of what we had and what we shared will always be there, even if it doesn't make sense anymore. We split up and broke up years ago. I have moved on from you, and we're never going to get back together, most likely. I'm probably never going to speak to you ever again, but I still really miss you and love you. But I got to move on to David Cornsweet, Superman girlfriend, because it's just right. Unless, for some reason in the future, we can be reunited and Warner Brothers makes a new Superman movie with you, Henry Cavill. That's most likely it. It's most likely the end. We're most likely finished. I mean, most likely we're never going to get to see Superman pull up like the way he did in the Snyder Cut movie ever again. The way Henry Cavill pulled up and was beating the bricks off of Steppenwolf. I mean, that just shows how strong he is, but still, just how cool the character is of Superman. I know James Gunn, I'm not sure what he's cooking up right now. The action for the James Gunn movie looks great, but still, the action here for this Justice League film is incredible. I mean, I really hope that one day we're probably going to get an incredible Justice League film with everyone in there. But for now, this is the best we got. The action is awesome. I mean, seeing Aquaman, he's in the air. He throws his trident at a Demogorgon and then rides the Demogorgon down in from the skies through an apartment building, rides him down into the street. That's insane. I mean, Batman inside of the Batmobile going crazy, Wonder Woman slicing guys up, The Flash being The Flash. I love The Flash so much in this film. We're going to get to his very cool sequence later. But still, I absolutely love, mainly Superman beating the bricks off of Steppenwolf. I mean, he was doing him dirty, like bullying him. That was phenomenal to watch. And we already know James Gunn did come out and say that his Superman is beatable. I haven't seen the new Superman movie yet. It comes out a week from now, I guess. So I haven't seen the new Superman film quite yet. I'm not sure if he gets embarrassed a lot or bullied a lot. But still, I think that his Superman's going to grow to be strong. Will he be as strong as Clark Kent in this movie for Henry Cavill? Maybe not, but we'll see. And then, I didn't really mention it here, but the plan here for this movie was for them to go to the Unity, split up into 3 parts. They need Barry Allen to jumpstart Cyborg into the Unity to break apart their mother boxes, blah, 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 whole shebang. Now, this is the best scene in the movie, I think, by far. Barry Allen gets hurt, obviously, and then he needs to heal really quick. Then it's too late. The mother boxes, they all converge. The world explodes. Then the At the Speed Force sequence is, I think, the best scene in the movie. I mean, really, this scene is everything for me. This is one of the best scenes in a comic book film ever. This is maybe the best Flash scene that we'll ever get in any movie ever. I mean, really, this is such a beautiful scene. Seeing the IMAX ratio, the music from Junkie XL is glorious. The dialogue of Barry Allen speaking to his dad, saying that your son really became one of the best of the best. I mean, oh my gosh, this scene is everything. This movie is art, and it shows just how good filmmaking and cinema is and what it can be. I love the At the Speed Force scene. It's just peak of fiction. I can never get enough of it. It speaks for itself. The music track alone is better than most Marvel films altogether. I mean, really, that's how much I love this scene in this movie. It's insane. And then after Barry Allen jumpstarts Cyborg into the Unity, seeing Cyborg in the Unity, it really, I love this character so much. Seeing Cyborg in the Unity, speaking to his 2 dead parents, then his old self before he had the mother box accident and the car accident, seeing that version and seeing his biggest fear of being alone, and not having anything left, then knowing that he realized that he's not alone, that he has more to live for. I mean, that just shows just how much this character meant, and I really freaking love Cyborg in this movie. I mean, a lot more than I thought I would. I feel like maybe I've grown to love him a little bit more each time I watch this film. Then this time, I just truly found a new appreciation for this character. And then the final couple things here before we end out this chapter with this whole movie is them decapitating Steppenwolf is awesome. I love that. The first time I saw this, when I watched it, it's so cool. Would that have happened in the theatrical cut? Who knows? I mean, this movie, most likely, if a theatrical cut of this came out, it probably would be 2.5 hours, I think they can cut it down to. And the whole decapitation thing, I think they can keep it in. It's not too graphic to where it's a problem. I think they can keep it in for sure. And also Darkseid, him staring at the Justice League as the Boom 2 portal closes is super cool. You know, him obviously teasing the future of the universe, saying we're going to ready the Armada, use the old ways. Hey, it's clear that they wanted to set up so much more. The ambition with this world and with these characters was so much that I have to at least give flowers to what they tried to do. I know that James Gunn's going to do great things with the new universe, but it'll never be what this was, for good and for bad. It'll never be what this was. This is just truly a special film. And then obviously epilogue time. Epilogue is very short. A Father Twice Over. Cyborg still. I really am glazing him so much, but hearing the voice recording from his father and his father telling him that he loves him, and just this whole line of dialogue from his father at the end of the movie is incredible. And I love this character a lot. I really just almost cried like a few times watching him and his development, his journey. And it's very clear now, I think, to see why Ray Fisher spoke out so vocally against the studio, against Joss Whedon, against the entire situation. He, I think, was maybe the most vocal out of anyone, even Snyder himself. I mean, really, it's understandable now if he was treated poorly once Joss Whedon came on, then his entire, this was really a cyborg movie, and it's all cut at the end of the day. I would be mad too. I would be more mad than him if this actually happened to me. I mean, really, that's why I really want to see them maybe bring him back in the future. I really love Ray Fisher. I think he should come back. I pray that he comes back in the future, but it most likely won't happen. He's still acting here and there, but he's definitely probably not going to come back to even for this cyborg role at the end of the day. Most likely he won't. And then this whole, montage thing of, we have Ray Fisher, well, not Ray Fisher, Cyborg's dad's voice recording going over, and we have the montage of Wonder Woman, Superman, and, the Flash and all them, and Aquaman as well. This is the end of the movie. It is, we see Batman farming Aura still for some reason. What'd you do? How'd you get the house back from the bank? I bought the bank. I mean, there's no reason to do that. There's no reason to Aura farm that hard. Relax. But still, I do like that. That's really the end of the movie. We get Slade Wilson. He comes in as well. Slade Wilson, that also was supposed to be a lot. I mean, once again, I can go into an entire podcast series just going through what we would have gotten in the future of the DC universe if the Justice League film worked. We would have gotten a Batman movie. I saw rumors that a Batman film with Ben Affleck would have been him in Arkham Asylum, kind of like the Batman game, Batman Arkham Asylum, to where he's fighting through Arkham, all of his rogues gallery villains, and Slade was the main big bad villain. That was supposed to be Matt Reeves at the helm, but that didn't really work out. Matt Reeves obviously stepped down, and he went on to do the Batman movie, so maybe the Batman just would have been the Batman, but with Ben Affleck. But that didn't really happen. That didn't really pan out, sadly. I mean, besides that, we also know that there was definitely supposed to be some kind of Man of Steel sequel eventually. I mean, they definitely would have done some kind of Man of Steel with Superman 2 movie at some point down the road. Also, we never got Cyborg film. I know that was supposed to happen. That probably just hit a brick wall with development. Aquaman movies did work, unfortunately, and those Aquaman movies have a bad legacy now. I can say that comfortably. Wonder Woman worked. That happened. The Flash film, they tried and failed miserably. And it definitely would have been a lot of other good, spin-off stuff. And Justice League 2 would have happened also. So it's not really the most ideal. But that's really the end of the movie. After the Slade Wilson scene of Slade Wilson, raking Lex Luthor out of the prison, then Slade Wilson and Lex on the yacht, that's the end of the film. At least what it was supposed to be. Then I think these next two scenes, Zack Snyder actually shot additionally. I know the Nightmare 2.0, we'll call it, the Nightmare, or maybe 3.0 scene of Batman talking to Joker, that was extra. They shot that additionally. I remember, Zack Snyder said that he wanted to give in his final send-off, he wanted to give Ben Affleck Batman and also Jared Leto Joker in a room or in an environment to have a conversation. He never got to do that when he was at the helm here directing these movies, and he didn't want to leave the fans hanging without an interaction and them two talking. So that's what this whole Nightmare 2.0 scene was for at the end of the day. And it's not the best Batman and Joker scene. It could have been better, man. Like I said, if we got more context and got another movie, and if we understood what this meal was supposed to be, then it would have made sense. But really, we don't understand. We really don't know what this was supposed to be panning out to, and we can't see his vision. So therefore, it feels like another kind of like out of nowhere misplaced scene, unfortunately. But it's still kind of cool, seeing Batman and Joker talk about this entire universe and how they let Lois Lane die and how he needs Joker to undo this entire world. That gives us some context, but still, we don't really understand why Mera has Aquaman's trident as king. We don't understand why Cyborg has a minigun. How is Batman and Slade Wilson working together? What happened to the Flash, etc. We don't exactly know what happened here. There's a lot of weird questions that we have, but still, like I said, it's unfinished. This isn't a trilogy. A trilogy is 3 movies and it's done. The Dark Knight trilogy is finished. They don't need to do anything else. This is a cliffhanger ending and clearly would need more films to be complete. This is not a trilogy. This is a franchise that needs more movies, but not a trilogy. I get really frustrated by seeing that and really pissed off at it, not gonna lie. But then for our final scene, we do have also Martian Manhunter comes to see Bruce Wayne, and he's like, hey, you did a good job. I'll be in the area. I'll be around. They call me Martian Manhunter. And, Martian Manhunter, he really pisses me off. Because I think it's maybe the same situation as Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel was in, what's his name? Nick Fury's pocket. He had a pager for Captain Marvel this entire time. So, Nick Fury, you didn't think that maybe you should call Captain Marvel when Avengers 1 happened, or Age of Ultron happened, or any big major event happened? It's the same here in this universe. Hey, Martian Manhunter, in Man of Steel, when an alien race invaded, you didn't think maybe I should help out a little bit. You didn't think in Batman vs. Superman, when, what's his name, Doomsday came in that movie, you didn't think, hey, I should help out a little bit. Or in this film, when you know that an invasion happened, you didn't think, I should come in and help out a little bit. Martian Manhunter, I'm not sure how strong he is, but he can at least take down, 20 Demogorgons real fast? He can help out a teeny bit at least do that. So it's just kind of frustrating. Clearly, this was not always an option for them to do. It was something that later on the line, they said, hey, let's do this, and why not kind of thing. So it gets a pass, but still, retconning stuff like this, it pisses me off. That's all I'm going to say. But besides Martian Manhunter in this universe being just scared of any kind of conflict, my final score for this film is going to be an A. Not an A+, not an A-, just an A right now. This is definitely one of the best films of the decade, one of the best comic films of all time. It's a beautiful movie, beautiful score, beautiful cinematography, etc. I love it. This entire movie is awesome. I can't wait to see what they do with James Gunn's Superman. But for Henry Cavill's Superman, goodbye forever. I'll never see it on the big screen again. I can't believe it. The last time I saw Henry Cavill on the big screen was for Black Adam. That is sad. That is unfortunate. The fact that we got more movies for Aquaman and Shazam than we did for Man of Steel is sad. Henry Cavill was done incredibly dirty. He deserved better than this, and it should never happen this way, but it did. I'm still a fan of this trilogy, but, for now, we got to say goodbye and welcome the new. And let the past die, because it's not going to be here anymore. It's time to embrace the future and embrace what James Gunn has done, and I hope it's good. I pray it's good. Embargo for that new film ends on Thursday, so we're going to be hearing reactions come in on Thursday, and we'll know if this film is good or not from those initial reactions. So if you want to go, you can go. If you want to stay, we have some intermissions very fast, and I'm going to go ahead and get out of here so I can go to bed. It's kind of actually only 4:10 p.m., but still I'm sleepy. I've been up since like 4 a.m. I've been up still. So, I'm kind of tired, but, let's go through this intermission. No, not intermission. Superlatives and awards real fast, and we're going to be done for the day.
You are a blowfish.
What? Lady, whatever you're selling, I ain't buying, yo.
Well, my name is Skylar White, yo.
I get a spot? Okay.
So, very fast intermission here. I don't really have a lot of words here, and they're all very locked in. I didn't really have to debate with myself on like what award should go where. It was all, very set in stone for me. So, for the superest scene in this movie, it's Flight 2.0. That's incredible. I love that Superman scene. It's awesome. This really isn't a Superman movie. It's more of a Justice League film for sure, but there's still some great Superman moments here. And then for the next award here is who is the best non-Superman character. That is for Cyborg. No question, that's really easy. My favorite quote is from Steppenwolf when he says, "No protectors here. No lanterns, no Kryptonians. This world will fall like all the others." That is just an incredible 10 out of 10 quote for a villain. Steppenwolf in this film versus the other film, night and day. It's really insane just how cutting a film and also changing the CGI design entirely, like last minute, can affect a villain. And affected this much. This movie is definitely going to be one to study if you're a film student and you're listening to this for some reason. I'm not sure why I'm your source of film knowledge and film studying, but if I am, then comparing and contrasting these two films, it's really good for making you a better filmmaker for sure. For our buzz from the back, a lot, quick little fun facts. We do have a few here to go through. I have a lot here, just some super cool fun facts. This is an incredibly unique situation that happened in Hollywood. Most likely this will never happen again. A whole Snyder Cut situation like this, who knows what will happen here. It's really insane to see. But still, for buzz from the back lot, I do have that according to Zack Snyder, this version contains no shots filmed by Joss Whedon from the theatrical version of Justice League. Then, for our second fun fact here, despite the directorial credits, Zack Snyder has never actually seen the theatrical cut of Justice League 2017. Reportedly, his wife, Deborah Snyder, and also his good friend and executive producer here, Sir Christopher Nolan, advised him to never see this movie as it would break his heart. Then for Victor Stone, aka Cyborg, he was originally described as the heart of this movie by Zack Snyder and Deborah Snyder, but Joss Whedon controversially cut most, if not all, of Cyborg's storyline for the theatrical version. Victor's plot line is restored here in this version, as I said previously. Then for two more fun facts here, I do have that confirmed in an interview by Deborah Snyder and Zack Snyder. The Snyder Cut has only about 5 minutes of total new shots and added scenes with actors, but there are over 2,000 new visual effects shots in the 4-hour film. And for our last and final fun fact here of the day is that majority of this film is shot back-to-back after the production completed on Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Some additional scenes in the epilogue were filmed in October of 2020. So like I said, the nightmare scene with Bruce Wayne and also Joker, if you care still, and that was, filmed in 2020. Then also, I think the epilogue scene of Martian Manhunter, also Bruce Wayne, was also an epilogue thing, which I don't really like, but, it is what it is. It doesn't really change a lot of the movie. A lot of this film is still the original what Snyder intended for 2017. It's just brought here in modern day. So it's sad to see, but, it's a miracle that I'm even here talking about this movie. At one point, this film, like I said, this movie was literally a myth. It was like a god more than an actual film. People worshipped the idea of a Snyder Cut, and now I'm talking about it. The spiritual element here was brought into physical form, and now we can actually see it and talk about it. It's a pure miracle of Jesus Christ. It's actually insane that this happened. It literally should have never happened. It's a miracle that Hollywood even let this happen, but we're here today, so shows enough crying and complaining on Twitter will get you somewhere. Look at that. And then for the MVP, it's Ray Fisher. Ray Fisher is the only MVP here. I understand this is a Superman series, and really, Ray Fisher as the MVP, he is the best character and the best actor in this movie, without a doubt. He is the heart and soul of this film. This movie would have no emotional tie, barely any, if it wasn't for him here in this film. He's awesome. He's incredible. Ray Fisher, thank you. I'm so sorry for what they did to you, and I hope to see you in the future in something else. I really do. Also, if you're still here listening to this long, thank you for listening to this Superman series. We're all done. There's nothing more that I feel like I need to discuss in terms of movies. I may go into the death of Superman next week. That'll be like a bonus episode before the new movie comes out. But really, this is a series finale for this massive series. Truly, thank you if you're listening this far. Thank you so much for listening to this entire show. But this series specifically, it's been a lot of hard work and hard hours. So really, thank you. I love you. I really appreciate you guys. And until next time, let's watch Superman here next week. But still, stay swagged out, stay cool, stay hopeful. And until then, I'll see you boys in the movies.